Now, there are many factors that cause labor to begin. Normal labor is affected by many factors. There are things that cause labor to begin. We are pregnant. What can tell us now we need to enter into labor so the baby can get out of the uterus? So there are many factors that theories that have been posted that perhaps cause the um, onset of normal labor. And these are listed here as we explain them one by one. So we have uterine distension as the baby grows, and we have the uterine contents, the placenta, the amniotic fluid, as the days go by and by, every week of gestation increases. There is distension of the uterus, and then we have the fetal placental contribution to these. And then we have the um, contribution from estrogen, contribution from progesterone. We have prostaglandins play a major role in this. We're going to see the factors contributed from oxytocin, myometrial oxytocin receptors, and then we're going to see neurological factors. Now, on the uterine stretching or the expansion of the uterus, these factors are as the baby is growing, as the fetus is growing, the amniotic fluid is added and is expanding, is becoming voluminous. The placenta and the tissues and the membranes involved, they stretch the uterus and the walls. The stretch results the increase in gap junction, the proteins there. Then the receptors for oxytocin as well tend to open. The opening of these, we're going to have spontaneous influx of calcium, and all these is going to trigger labor, contraction of labor. That's the first theory. And then we have the second one, that is the fetal placental contribution. So the cascade of events activated from the fetal hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis prior to the onset of labor, this leads to increase in corticosteroid releasing hormone. Now, from the fetal head, the hypothalamus releases the corticosteroid releasing hormone. Now, the anterior pituitary gland is where this hormone is going to act. From the placentas, where we have corticosteroid releasing hormone that fuses to the fetus, and then it causes the anterior pituitary to release the adrenocorticotropin hormone. This acts on the suprarenal glands, and the suprarenal glands are going to produce cortisol. Cortisol is going to act in this way. It's going to increase interleukins 1, 6, and 8. It's going to cause decrease in progesterone production. It's going to bring an increase in estrogen production. It's going to increase the expression of prostaglandins E2 and prostaglandin F2 alpha. And then there is going to increase oxytocin receptors. These all are the effects of cortisol. And then the fetal adrenal gland as well is going to affect the fetal liver. It's going to produce more dehydroepiandrosterones that is going to be converted into estrogen in the placenta. So we're going to have another source of increased estrogens. So estrogen is also going to increase interleukins, prostaglandins, and oxytocin receptors. And then from the mother, the hypothalamus, the posterior pituitary is going to increase oxytocin production. Now, oxytocin is going to increase myometrial receptors because the production of oxytocin is via the positive is a positive feedback loop. So when we're going to have oxytocin production from the placenta, we're going to have increased oxytocin production from the mother as well, because it is a positive feedback looping system. So the myometrial receptors that were increased from the cortisol effect, we're going to have action of oxytocin on its receptors, and the contraction is going to increase. Oxytocin has the effect on the gap junctions. It has increase of these junctions. The decidual increases of the prostaglandin F2 alpha and the stretch receptors. All this is going to increase. And now the mechanical factors, where we have the fundal uterine contraction, in which the baby, the axis from the fundus towards the baby is going to act upon it. So this is the fetal placental contribution to the beginning of labor. Now on estrogen, we've said it. As cortisol increases, all these prostaglandin, oxytocin, interleukins, all these, also estrogen has similar effects. Increases the release of oxytocin from maternal pituitary, promotes the synthesis of myometrial receptors for oxytocin, stimulates the synthesis of myometrial contractile proteins. This one should not be forgotten. Increases the excitability of the myometrial cell membrane. This is very important. So the threshold for excitability of these contractile tissues decreases. There is also stimulation, or there is also stimulation of synthesis of the contractile protein. There is promotion of synthesis of myometrial receptors of prostaglandins and oxytocin production from the mother. Now, progesterone decreases by the effect of cortisol, as we've said here. So cortisol is going to decrease progesterone. So by nature, progesterone decrease is going to cause increase in estrogen ratio. So the ratio is altered, and therefore we're going to have onset of labor. Now we have neurological factors, the alpha and the beta adrenergic receptors from the sympathetic arm of the autonomic receptor. These receptors, the autonomic arm of the nervous system, these receptors are responsive to the sympathetic triggers and release. Now, up to this far, these are the factors, the theories surrounding the onset of labor. Like, comment, and share with friends.